Hello, it's poetry time, and I'm going to take a look at a short and simple poem today. It is called A Chair in Snow, and it is by Jane Hirshfield. This poem, I think, just demonstrates that a poem can sometimes catch just one simple thought, a feeling, a moment, and it does not always lead to a profound conclusion. It's just a simple moment. So, the vocabulary of this one is simple enough that I think I do not need to explain any individual words, but I will review it when it's done so that we can see the meaning of some of the lines. Here we go. A chair in snow should be like any other object, whited and rounded. And yet a chair in snow is always sad. More than a bed, more than a hat or house, a chair is shaped for just one thing: to hold a soul its quick and few bendable hours. Perhaps a king, not to hold snow, not to hold flowers. So, I think if there's anything relatable to this poem, I just feel like most of us have occasional reflections, something we see, something we feel in a moment. We might walk past something and think, oh, that's curious, and then forget about it and move on. Or we have a thought and oh, that's an interesting idea, move on. The writer is a bit different because the writer is the person who gives words to those fleeting thoughts. They're attuned to the thoughts that they see when looking at ordinary objects, what they think about and how they feel about them, and then they might commit it to writing in a poem. And so I don't know if you find that you have similar thoughts sometimes looking around at the things around you. What thoughts do they inspire? But a poet can invite us to be more aware of those thoughts and feelings. Looking back at the poem line by line, a chair in snow should be like any other object, whited and rounded. Whited is not commonly used as a passive verb, but it's being used here that way. Made white, obviously. And yet a chair in snow is always sad. Now, a chair in snow is just a chair in snow, but this poet got a feeling of sadness looking at it for some reason, and so she's investigating why. More than a bed, more than a hat or house. Now, I think it's interesting, she compares it to beds, hats, houses. What do chairs, beds, hats, and houses have in common? Well, they're all objects basically for people. So it seems somehow natural to assign feelings or to personify these objects to some extent because of the way that they associate with people. At least that's how I see it. A chair is shaped for just one thing: to hold a soul its quick and few bendable hours. That seems like a funny way to express it. Of course, in this case, I would say a soul is just a simple way of saying a person. So a chair holds a person for those few moments when that person is bendable, when that person doesn't need to stand and walk or do its work, but can simply bend itself chair-shaped. Interesting. Perhaps a king. Perhaps a chair may even hold a king. Not to hold snow, not to hold flowers. So chairs are without their purpose when they are without their people, it seems to say. And therefore a chair in snow is a chair that has been sort of abandoned and lost its purpose, but it still has that recognizable human form in the snow. That's how I read it. You may read it differently. But the question I'd like to get into with you this time is, what kinds of feelings do you have about objects or the things that you see around you? Maybe you can share. Do you sometimes get strange or profound thoughts that come into your head when you look at a particular thing? So I'd like to hear from you about that, and then I'll speak to you again when I have another poem. Meanwhile, have a good day.